This is things you might not have heard. I am Jay Cleveland Payne, and for you today, 8 news stories from the queue from yesterday that you deemed as conversational. You vetted these stories as ending up. They cover information, politics, current events, and pop culture news, and they cover a bunch of executive orders. So it's a big another day of a lot of Trump. Also, Pete Hegseth himself and CNN. We teased it. We're talking about it. People are losing jobs at CNN, but we'll explain the vetting process and how these stories are the particular stories we're talking about in a bit after all the headlines are done. But remind you right now about the important things, how to find out about us when you're not with us. Go to our website. This is theconversationproject.com and engage. Check out all the things. We'll have plenty of calls to actions, things you can do at the website a little bit later. Plus, you can email me at your convenience at theconversationinbox@gmail.com. As long as there's a Google, as long as there's a Google machine, you can email me with your comments, your concerns, your complaints, all those things at that one place. Today happens to be Friday, January the 24th, 2025. Glad to have you along with us for this shortened week. We did not do a Monday show because of celebrations and King Holiday and anniversaries and things. But we're glad you stuck with us a full week. We'll have a weekend show and a weekend roundup of 12 stories that we talked about over the past week. We'll get to that towards the end of this show. But let's get into today's show, where we go to the trolling of Donald Trump, or should say Donald Trump trolling me. Here's a headline that popped up at me late in the evening as I was busy engaged with something else. I do PA and some work for our basketball team at my university. And so for about 4 or 5 hours, I was engaged in basketball and what was on the court. I go to check to finish out filling things out for the rest of the evening. And this pops up and I'm thinking, this is a joke, right? This is just something to tease me. This can't be real. Headline: Trump signs executive order to release more JFK, RFK, and MLK, all the Ks, all the times, their assassination files. This happened yesterday. Another executive order that he's just seemingly signing a bunch of things that aren't not necessarily related to anything and coming out of nowhere, declassifying and releasing remaining government documents on John F. Kennedy and Robert F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr., the president, the senator, and also attorney general, and the civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. What does this mean? The executive order directs the director of national intelligence to develop a plan 15 days from now to declassify all these documents and have them declassified within 45 days. Basically, especially those concerning RFK and MLK coming forward. So JFK's documents should be done quickly, and the rest of things should be in a little bit longer because everyone wants to know what happened in these cases. JFK assassinated in 1963, MLK in 1968, and Robert Kennedy, RFK, Sr., 1968 as well. Subjects of extensive investigations, numerous conspiracy theories. Was the government behind it? Who was the third, fourth shooters? Was the FBI actually secretly trying to get MLK to kill himself? And because they couldn't do that, they killed him in this plot. Many folks want the transparency. Some family members of the deceased have long called for full release, so we get these ideas out there. Some historians and skeptics are worried about cautionary tales of people, popping off on some of the conspiracy theories that have gone a bit crazy and making those becoming more or less canon. Because if you find out there was a conspiracy theory, it's there. Or you find out that something wasn't there, you just think, oh, the government's still trying to hide something. That's what's there. There's a lot going on in Trump's White House right now. There's a lot of things happening, a lot of things that are going to happen. And the executive order is basically him signing with a Sharpie, not quite a pen, to make things happen. It's a big deal. Another big deal. Approves he signed executive order, which has been blocked. A judge has blocked the blatantly unconstitutional, that's his words, executive order aiming to end birthright citizenship. This happened yesterday as well, as the U.S. District Judge John C. Kochler in Seattle temporarily halted President Trump's executive order aimed at ending birthright citizenship. He called it blatantly unconstitutional, referencing to the 14th Amendment, which grants us all, if you're born in this nation's inside these borders, birthright citizenship, and it's just sort of there. So saying we're going to rip up the 14th Amendment without having Congress involved, he's saying you can't quite do that. Now, Trump signed this order on the 20th, the first day order, if you will, intending to deny citizenship to children born in the U.S. to undocumented immigrants or those on temporary visas. The order specified that children born after February 19th, 2025, to mothers unlawfully present or on temporary status with fathers who are neither U.S. citizens or lawful permanent residents will not be granted citizenship. Just being born within the confines of the United States does not give you the right to be an American. Four states, Washington, Arizona, Illinois, and Oregon, filed lawsuits initially on this one, and the judge in Washington basically said it's not going to happen. Now, here's the thing. Trump had some comments about the judge saying, certain judge, he's against me, yada, yada, yada. But in the statement that the judge actually gave, he said in the 40 years he's been on the bench, this is the most blatantly unconstitutional thing he's seen. 40 years on the bench because he was appointed, given the job by Ronald Reagan. This is not a new hire. This is not somebody who just all of a sudden hates Trump. This is somebody who's been doing this job for quite some time. Judge Costner is basically saying there's a 14-day temporary restraining order on this so it can be reviewed, because at this point in time, he thinks it's not going to fly. Your mileage may vary. Speaking of RFK, let's go to Junior, as they are doing the work to basically get him confirmed as our Health and Human Services Director for the United States. What did they find out about him? He has $1.2 million in credit card debt, despite having a $30 million net worth, which technically isn't bad. Many of us have even worse sort of dimensions, worse sort of ratios with that issue. But he's owes approximately $15 million in credit cards, essentially unsecured debt. He has a net worth of 30 million, but approximately half of that is assets shared with his wife, and with that he's got credit card bills that are up to about 1.2 million. So they live a pretty lavish lifestyle. By the end of July 2024, the campaign that he had $3.9 million in funds on hand, but it was also $3.5 million in debt, meaning that his actual campaign, which was funded a lot by his vice presidential nominee because she had money, also bad there. JFK may not be great with money. You may have some issues with his health statuses, but it's a different issue. He's apparently living okay. He's not, owing any loan sharks anything, but it does show that his management of money, his campaign is a totally different thing, maybe of issue of note going forward. We shall see if this is the thing that keeps him from getting confirmed or anything else, or as things are seen right now, most of the folks that Trump is putting on the line will make their way down the line and get those votes. It also seems like Pete Hegseth is going to make that way as well. But he actually gave some new information to the congressmen, the people who are looking into his background for his affirmation coming soon as well. Maybe as soon as late tonight. They expect to vote on that tonight, and it should pass. Now, he admitted to actually paying $50,000 to the woman who accused him of the 2017 assault. At this point in time, or before this point in time, there was a non-disclosure agreement. He never said anything happened, or he said everything was consensual. They didn't talk about it. The people involved didn't talk about it. A friend brought it up, which is why we're talking about it, and the money amount was never disclosed. We now know that we'll say future defense secretary acknowledged that he paid in the settlement $50,000 for this incident. This happened at a convention in Monterey, California, where even though he denied the accusation of it being sexual assault, because of the timing of things at the time, Me Too and whatnot, he was worried about his job at Fox News and people glomming onto that one. So he settled this pretty quickly, which is his prerogative. Other news that's coming out about Hegseth is a new testimony by his ex-wife. Now, to clear up some of the statements that were given by an ex-sister-in-law, basically saying that she, the ex-wife, did have code words and did suffer some sort of abuse. And the statement that she gave originally was, "I never suffered any physical abuse." A new testimony was given before actual people to hear these things that we don't have privy to know. But it clarified what exactly was going on, because saying no physical abuse and stating that there is no abuse are maybe two different things. Now, it looks like he's going to make it. He got advanced on the committee with a vote that made it look fine. And except for two Republican senators who are going to vote no on this issue, essentially, those are the two votes he can lose. And if a tiebreaker is necessary, JD Vance is there to make that happen. He's probably going to make this one and become our next Secretary of Defense, officially being announced probably late this evening. Let's talk about us for a minute. Me specifically, or this thing, the conversation project, if you will. We're taking a quick break from the stories. We'll have four more stories to wrap up from yesterday that you engaged in and you gave us here. But how did these stories get to be? Well, we look for your help, and we'll explain that in full detail when we go to the teaser story and the feeds in a moment. But right now, we need more people to give teaser stories to and have in the feed so they can vote up stories and be more engaging, make this more of a conversation, not just a monologue because it seems like I'm talking to you in a camera. This is a conversation. So if you like the stories that I'm picking for you and you help pick them as well, if you like the stories we're presenting here, if you're into my wit and my humor and my commentary, some people sort of are into it. Rage hate is love is also great as well. Like it. Click the like button on wherever you are watching, or click the emoji face of your choosing on a Facebook and engage in it. This tells the algorithms that we're doing good work and will feed it to more people. It also tells me I'm doing good work, and I'll look for more things like that to make sure I'm presenting to you. If you know people who enjoy this stuff off the bat, my wit, my humor, my very dry jokes, and the new share it with them. Okay? That's the algorithm this to them. Maybe they'll like it as well, so help grow us. And however you're seeing this today, we ask for you to subscribe. We're not even for notifications. You don't have to go check it every single day, but put us in your subscription. Click whatever it needs to do to make sure we're subscribed. You're subscribed to us, so that when you come check us on the feeds, which we'll explain in about 6 minutes, you can see what we have going on and watch what you do. You don't have to watch everything we do, but just watch enough to make sure that we're viable. We can make it work. So like, share, and subscribe. We'll do our best to make it work, and we'll ask for less direct money from you. If you like, share, and subscribe, there's more people out there in the queue to make it more conversational. Less stuff directly coming out of your pockets. We teased this story yesterday. We're talking about it right now. On the flip side, and although it wasn't the bloodbath that I initially thought it was, no major names have been released. Although we'll talk about some shifts that are going to happen. But CNN is undergoing some significant changes, restructuring to its work, to its programming, to prioritize digital platforms in response to changing media consumption. This means about 200 employees, 6% of the workforce at the moment, are losing their jobs, producers, editors, and non-air roles. However, they're going to actually create about 100 new positions in the process, so some of these people can reapply and come back. It's not as big as it is. Initially, they have to kill 200 jobs off the books to make these things happen. They're going to evolve the viewer experience, enhancing the digital subscriptions and developing a new streaming service, another new streaming service that's going to come out fairly soon. They're also changing the lineup. Here's one of the biggest things that are happening. Veteran anchor Wolf Blitzer is swapping times with veteran anchor Jim Acosta, or him, Wolf Blitzer, and Pamela Brown would now do a two-desk sort of newscast in Jim Acosta's seat. Jim Acosta is being moved to midnight. This is being sold to him as a way to expand his horizons. Acosta is one of the highest rated guys on the network, if believe it or not, because of his time slot right after the early morning show before they get to lunchtime stuff. People who are kind of just getting up and getting into things are watching Jim Acosta, and they like him for his, let's just say, not so nice things he says about Trump and MAGA. Moving to midnight seems like a risk, but it also means Jim Acosta is now live in prime time on the West Coast, so he gets more audience there, and it's a chance to do more experimental stuff, more Don Lemon stuff, if you will. You see how that worked out for Don Lemon. Well, actually, it was moving to the morning show that actually got him fired, so there you go. The adaptations will be seen fairly quickly, fairly soon. Jim Acosta did a sign off like, "I'm still here, not going anywhere, just not in the 10 o'clock slot." And we'll start seeing the new stuff for Wolf Blitzer and Pamela Braun soon as well. And other digital assets and new streaming service. They already have a digital subscription for getting more news, a paywall for some new stuff to make money. How well it's going to work going forward, we shall see. As the last person, I think, watching CNN, I definitely shall see. Las Vegas Hotel Workers Union ends a decade-long strike with new casino deal. And you probably didn't know this was happening. It says decade-long strike, but it really was a 69-day strike at Virgin Hotels in Las Vegas after securing a 5-year contract for approximately 700 employees. So the headline is probably overdoing it by the chat GPT. So we'll talk about them and take them back and explain that later. The new agreements include significant wage increases, aligning with the 32% raises over 5 years that the union achieved in negotiations with other casinos. This strike, which began in 2024 of November, not 10 years ago, is the longest by Las Vegas hotel workers in decades. So maybe that was where ChatGPT got confused. The longest strike in decades, which lasted 69 days. The prolonged negotiations over pay disparities compared to other casinos was vast, but they were able to get it done for this one particularly. The game is now, I guess, evened out, with strike getting notable attention, including support from comedians who actually canceled shows in the venue, and a boycott pledge from the NFL Players Association, who would not go there. And if your sports ball guys aren't going to a casino, you got issues. Unanimously approved by the union members, bringing it into this dispute, and we're happy for this one, especially if you're a casino goer and on the side of workers and labor. Let's talk Horizon 2, Chapter 2, if you will, as it has a premiere date in the movie theaters again after being pushed back from 2024. Horizon, an American saga, Chapter 2, scheduled to have its U.S. premiere date in Santa Barbara International Film Festival on February 7th of 2025. That is coming up there. It has world premiere in Venice in September of 2024, but then got pulled from the schedule because it's really long and the first one didn't do so well. Initially, it basically was supposed to be in theaters on August of 2024, postponed following the underperformance. That's what we're seeing in the Robot Editor for Chapter 1 at the box office. It went from supposedly being a 4-series movie of very long movies, 3 hours or so each, that were going to be seen in the theater first, and it didn't happen. The envisioning was Chapter 1, Chapter 2, 3, which is in production right now, and 4 in development, were going to come out pretty quickly behind themselves because you had to go see them. Now, the reviews that I saw were mixed. The reviews that I got from people who commented on the stuff said, most of them said it was not bad. It was just really, really long. And there were some people that complained about, I guess, some of the portrayals of people, although it was meant to be less of a old-time Hollywood staple of a John Wayne movie, or less of a something like a Tombstone in the modern era where things were sort of overly hyped, and showing the really ugly size of the American saga, the horizon of going to the West back then. And women were a whole lot stronger back then, and men were a whole lot nastier back then. And so the Hollywood gloss was not there. That was the point of these 4 movies. Movie number 2 coming out sooner than later, which is great. Movie number 3 being wrapped up fairly soon, we're sure. And then movie 4 still has to be developed and done. So look out for that one coming, not quite soonish, but coming eventually. The postponed Oscar nominations came out, and we have Emilia Pérez, who's leading the chase, leading the charge with 13 nominations, with Wicked and The Brutalist coming pretty close behind, not quite hitting that number. Both of those with 10 nominations. The historic achievement as the most nominated non-English language film to date is Emilia Pérez. So we'll see how that works out for them, her, it, the whole shebang. Wicked and The Brutalist, as I say, both get 10 nominations. Carla Sofia Carson made history as the first openly transgender performer to receive the Best Actress nomination in her role for Emilia Pérez. The 97th Academy Awards ceremony is scheduled for March the 2nd at the Dolby Theater in Los Angeles, with Conan O'Brien as the set to host the thing. Now, of course, Los Angeles, West Coast fires. This is the end of January. March is 2 months away, a month and a half away. So we have plenty of time to hopefully contain those things. It will still be a story, still be something to talk about, because tragedies don't just go away within 6 months, 6 weeks, 6 years, if you will. So we'll have more to talk about the fires, and I'm sure they'll have some way to make tributes to people who lost lives, who've lost property, and who are fighting those fires immediately in the moment. We're going to go to our teaser section, which is the point where we transition out of the news section. We did 8 stories for you, and talk about a story we're going to tee up for you, in this case, to possibly talk about come Monday. It's Friday, So we are done for the week giving you news stories. We have the 12 stories that we're going to recap tomorrow in the weekly roundup. I'll go for the weekend. 12 stories from the week we talked about that or may need a bit of adjustment, a bit of reply to. Definitely going to talk about that executive order that got blocked yesterday. But more executive orders being signed. We're teasing this one where Trump signed an executive order promoting crypto, which paves the way for digital asset stockpiles. Now, it doesn't make cryptocurrency currency, but it does make it easier for you to hold on to it and make some extended cash. This is a bit controversial because, as you know, the day before the inauguration, or 2 days for the inauguration, and the day before the other inauguration, all the inaugurations, a Trump coin and a Melania coin, which are tied to Donald Trump and Melania Trump, came into fruition. And they made billions of dollars on first days. And they've sort of crashed right now. So there's conflict of interest. There's a lot of conflict of interest for when it comes to Trump selling stuff. But do you want to talk about it? It's going to take a lot of work to keep this thing going. So we'll have 30 stories to choose from come Monday. If anyone listened to the audio, that was a horrendous burp, so I apologize for that. Come Monday, because we have 3 days to count from today, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and a teeny bit of Monday morning. We're going to have the 90 or so stories we get in that span of time, because it'll be about 30 within a day or so, and choose 30 at the top of the level and pick 10 of those stories for a extended version of this come Monday. Regular days, Tuesday through Friday, it's just 8 stories, because we're only picking for one day. And out of the 30 stories in a day, we'll take the top 15 and pull 8 out of those. So if you want to talk about Trump stock, Trump crypto, Trump shoes, Trump watches, Trump University, and Trump water, as you will, because they'll all come up when I write the story. You just need to engage in this one. Follow it on the feed. Follow us on the feeds on Facebook and X. Facebook.com/This Is Conversation Project. X.com/TH_conversation. And when you see us there, we post news articles about every 50 minutes or so from various different sources. If you want to tie it up, you want to talk about it, this is from CNBC, so you can call this one a neutral source, if you will. They're just talking about the fact that it's money, although it's not money, it's worth money. And this may pave the way for more people to stockpile and hold on to their crypto longer, which could make them some money and have less people trying to basically pull the rug out of people's from under people to make money off the bad bets that are out there. My work on crypto, and I'm not an investor, can't give you investment advice, but I do have another website called Very Basic Investment Advice that does basic teaching and does talk about how these things work. Crypto is not currency. I have a post coming out next week on crypto not being currency and the dangers of it, but the highlights and what you can get out of, I'll just say luck in crypto. That's a self-promotion. Go to very basic business information, very basic business advice. .com and see that website go forward. But you can do it on your own if you will. We did tease CNN expected layoff employees yesterday. We had the follow-up story that they laid off about 200 people, but they're going to basically hire 100 new people. Most of those people will come back in new jobs, new roles, and the shifting, not so big a shift as I thought it was going to be, but right now the big one is Wolf Blitzer and Pamela Brown will take over a extended morning version dance team, and Jim Acosta gets to dance with himself after midnight. Our story or our sponsor for the day is myself, and it is the book that I wrote last year. One of the books I wrote last year, published last year. I write things all the time, obviously. It's called 100 Daily Affirmations for Positivity and Confidence. Now, for the bulk of last year, I spent time in this broadcast and time when I split it off into the and other things, Bob, shorter podcast, shorter video, promoting this book, promoting daily affirmations for you. We're not doing that again. Do not do that anymore. I may work on a second affirmations book because of the popularity of this one. And I actually have a couple of speeches on this book in the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to do some promotion. Hopefully I'll get some clips of those and get them to you going forward so you can see what it's all about. But affirmations are powerful things if you can make them work. They're not guarantees, they're not magic, but being able to affirm to yourself, affirmation, my definition, is something that you affirm, you convince, or you cajole yourself or another person to believe. Sometimes they're not quite true fiction, but sometimes it's a little extra boost. They make it, so fake it till you make it thought process going on. This book has 100 different affirmations that are customizable based on what you want. If you read something, it's like, well, that's close, but not quite what I need. change up the wording and use it for whatever you need to. Use it whenever you need to. Open a book to a random page and get an affirmation, go with it. Use one every single day for 100 days to feel better, or just use one every so often and do well with that one. Each affirmation, each page as the affirmation actually has 5 different reasons, 5 different explanations, 5 ways to show how these affirmations can work for you. So it's not just say this thing, this magic words, and you'll be better. It's these words mean this thing. And if you use it for these things, it might help you work on improving your self image, improving how you deal with people, improving some other things as well. Check it out. Use the link inside of this here presentation, or go to Amazon.com or wherever you find your books. It's everywhere you find books. Amazon is our main distributor because we publish it on the Kindle platform. It's in Kindle form and in paperback form, $10 for paperback and $5 for Kindle. So check it out. Just search 100 Affirmations Pain and you'll see it right there in the books there, or click the link in this presentation. It's in the notes for you to check it out. I think it's a good book. I wrote it, so I'm a bit biased, but I think it's something that's good and positive. And if you're a person who believes in affirmations or don't, I think the background on this one, not quite science, pseudoscience, if you will, but the background and the explanation on how these affirmations and affirmations work in general will be good for you. Let's talk about us. We'll talk about not us per se, but yeah, let's say us. Today is Friday, so we're going to hype up our partners in just a moment. But the Conversation Project lives online at this is theconversationproject.com, and our email address is theconversationinbox@gmail.com. Let's get to our partners and show them much love on this Friday, because that makes an actual us. These are people who engage with us extremely well, extremely heavily, and are willing to put down real American dollars to help us out going forward. Starting off the spare change level, that's $1 level, the Joy Winters, and the cup of coffee level guys, and they happen to be all guys: Harold Braxton, Colby Green, and Eldon Kidd. Now, if you want to also join via the join button on YouTube, that's one way as well. Same basic general thing applies with levels there that correspond with our partnerships. And there's also one-time donations via Cash App, via Venmo, via PayPal, via other vehicles like that. But this is using the Buy Me a Coffee platform to get a subscription, just like Patreon, just except another vendor. So these are people who offer up money every single month to help us pay for things. It may not seem like much, $16, $5 for a cup of coffee level, and $1 for spare change. There's also a higher level, a $20 level at Pot of Coffee if you want to go that route. But these people are showing their engagement, showing their love for the project, sometimes a little bit of frustration and hate for the project, but showing that they want this thing to proceed. If you want to help us out in that way, we appreciate it. We'll be good stewards of your money, we promise. Go to our website, click on the partnership page, and find out how to partner with us. This is conversationproject.com/partnerships. We also want to remind you that we have plenty of other calls to actions. We'll do it very quickly right here. Those calls to actions include going to our website, following us on their feeds, engaging the stories, and looking at other links on the website. Check out sponsors. If you don't want to be a full-time partner, check out sponsors. Those are all affiliate links, so we get a small commission from those. Look at our origin story, which is there online, to figure out how we got here and whether we align with your thoughts, values, and your new stuff. And of course, check out old clips and old pieces that we've done in the past and see how well we've progressed, and some days how well we regress, which happens a lot. All those things and more at our website. This is theconversationproject.com. This is theconversationproject.com. Consider being a partner. If not, just make sure you're following the feeds and you are engaging the stories, and we will do what we can to make the rest happen. We're wrapping up for the week. This is Friday, January 24th, 2025. We had 4 of these things you might have heard editions. We did get 5 newsletters, so we have the full boat of stories to choose from. We will choose from those stories, give you 12 stories to review tomorrow in the weekly roundup. Stories that need a little bit of extra attention, stories you may have forgotten with all the crazy things that happened. And since the day started with Trump's inauguration and is basically the week started and the week will end with even more executive orders doing sorts of things that may or may not be pushed back on. We've got a lot to talk about, a lot to review. It's going to be interesting and maybe a hard time to pick the right stories, I believe, but you'll see some stories that caught my attention that I think need to be re-reviewed come tomorrow. Of course, follow the feeds and engage in the stories all weekend long. So we have a great batch of stories to choose for Monday. And if you think the story on Trump and crypto is good enough, engage the hell out of it. Engage it now so that it lasts a weekend. 30 stories of over 90 get a shot, and 10 of those stories get picked. So if you want that story to be something we're talking about, make sure you put in the love. And I love you guys. Extremely. So thank you so much for giving me some love and being here and listening and watching this stuff. For all the people who are watching it live, wrapping this up at 5 after 6 in the morning Central Time, you guys are my heart. Thank you so much. If you're watching in a replay or watching some clips later on, we love you guys just as much as everybody else. We need all the folks there. Consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Consider this done. I'm Jake Living Payne, wrapping up the Friday edition of Things You Might Have Heard. We'll see you again with this particular show come Monday.